please.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sure. Okay. All right, roll call today. Those present are Commissioners Foster and Turner, City Attorney Bill Cameron, and our City Engineer Dominic. Mike Elliott will be here shortly. He's excused tardy. And who's Wendy is excused absence. Okay, can we have a approval of the agenda, please?
I move that we approve the
Second.
agenda.
Perfect, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And can I have a motion to approve minutes, please?
I so move. Motion to approve minutes. Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Shelley, do we have anyone for public comment tonight?
No public comment.
No public comment, perfect, okay. We have no new business. And under old business, we're going to hear from Dominic from Grand Osborne on our comprehensive plan. We have 3 chapters tonight. We're going to cover utilities, capital facilities, and transportation. Dominic, are you ready to roll?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect, you can have the table.
Okay. Well, I think the comp plan has dominated the agenda for at least the last 2 meetings. The 3 elements kind of in order go utilities, then transportation, then capital facilities. And I believe the draft chapters for your reading pleasure have been distributed by Shelley or Tammy or
Yes, I have.
both. So the,
May I? I'm sorry.
absolutely.
I thought our chapters to read were 2, 3, and 4, which is land use, environment, and housing.
That was the review of what she had assigned to for editing. This is the others that were for tonight. They both were sent out.
So we're not discussing 2, 3, and 4?
That was for editing with Emily.
That's what we covered last meeting, and she just asked if you had any comments or concerns.
So when will we do that? I'm just curious.
That was for you to do kind of as your homework, to review
Right,
that.
but if we have any questions or comments, when do we do that?
Oh, you can just send those to Emily, to her email, and her email's included in theirs, correct, Shelley?
I'll have to check that.
We'll make sure you get her email.
And just as a aside, I had a really hard time trying to find a section that, with the summary where it was in the comprehensive plan, because here, in this summary where we have, it says such and such chapter, section 1-2, or whatever it is.
Okay.
But it doesn't, and the pages are so confusing because it starts with page 1 on every little section.
Gotcha.
And it was just,
Hard to
it
follow.
took me half an hour to figure out what it is I was supposed to read, to find
So-
it in the right place.
Maybe we can give you Emily's phone number and maybe she can explain it to you. I personally don't know
Right.
the format myself.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think it needs to be changed. So
And that's
in
what
the
she's
summary
looking
where
for.
it gives a table of contents that either the pages are
Sure.
listed or there are tabs or something. I mean, it was,
I think that's the feedback she's looking for, so that would be great.
okay.
We'll get you
I'm
her
sorry,
email.
No,
that's
those were things that I was.
That's exactly why we're here, Bo. I'm glad you said something, because I haven't personally looked at it myself to try and follow it, so.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
Was there a, I mean, there's a couple ways to do that. Usually when you're getting into the detail and kind of the weeds of the chapter, finding the sections, you know, nowadays it's, you know, on the PDF format, a lot of times you can have bookmarks that can really take you to the sections right away as opposed to the pages. But was there one you were looking for that you were still unable to find, or was it more of a difficulty, it just took
I was
forever
just-
and then you finally found it?
I mean, in the normal book, when it says such and such a chapter, you go to whatever page and there it is.
Sure.
Whereas here, we have probably 10-page ones, and however many, you know, so that the section was not relating to a page, or even finding the section was difficult.
Gotcha.
That's really all that I'm saying. So for normal people like me, it would be difficult to find the right section that we're talking about, so
Okay,
just as a comment.
okay.
And that probably also means the previous plan, although I happen to have a printout of last year's, or not last year's, the last one, and that one had chapters, so that was easy to find, whereas the one that we got in an email, there was no such thing, obviously, because it's not a printout.
Right.
And without it, you know, it was tricky. Anyway,
Gotcha. Okay, well, like I said, there is a way to navigate if you were looking on a computer at the document, sometimes easier to find sections, but if you're doing the hard copy, it would really be more
well,
generating even the chapter tab, at least takes you to the right chapter, so. But that's something we can,
I think we got a PDF copy, so Russ
right.
would have.
And we can certainly generate bookmarked hard copies of that, you know, of the whole thing. Because
Nice.
eventually you're gonna have the whole document as all
Okay.
as one, and then we can
Okay.
give the, you know, I think we asked before how many hard copies, and then we'll always have the electronic copy, because that'll be a matter of
Great.
maybe record on what you have for the meeting, what
Okay.
was dated what.
All
Because
right.
I
Yeah.
fear that the three elements that I'm discussing may have the same issues with the kind of the tabulation and the sections not relating to page numbers, so.
As long as we address it somehow, you
Sure.
know, like whether it is the way we did it last
Yep.
time around, that works.
Well-
It's just for us to know which, to find it in the printout that was mailed to us, that was.
Maybe with you here to explain it, it might make sense to us,
Yeah,
you know, as you're going through it.
sure.
Yeah, okay, I'm
Um,
good, we can proceed on.
okay, so you printed yours.
Yeah, that was really the only way I could read it. And
Okay.
it took several evenings.
Uh,
You know, the chapters 2, 3, and 4, that is.
Okay, in the future, we can print that for you if you
It's
want a
no big
hard
deal.
copy. Okay. Cheryl,
No big
same
deal.
for you, if you would like to look at a hard copy. We don't mind printing it, it's just several pages, and we thought if you don't need that information, there's no sense in wasting the paper. So let us know if you'd like a hard copy.
Okay.
Okay. So for the utilities element, what the primary utility that is in the city is the water system. So we have been, you know, somewhat in parallel, wrapping up what's known as the water system plan for Department of Health. So a lot of that information we had and had developed, and it's inventorying your existing system, what you have in terms of water mains and reservoirs and pump stations and hydrants and valves. It's an inventory of what you have. And then for the utility, really that's the utility you control.
My apologies, I'm glad you caught me, I almost got on my mower, I'd never heard of it. I just totally lost it coming back today. All right.
Jimmy, how are you doing? Good.
So, like we were going into the utilities element, the 3 chapters on the agenda for this evening are utilities, transportation, and capital facilities.
Okay.
So on the utilities, as I was describing, the primary utility owned by the city is the water system. So it's an inventory of your existing system, and then it really is looking at a level of service for your water system. So that's delivering adequate water pressure to all your customers. It's delivering fire flow coverage with your hydrants, so that, which is a Department of Health requirement for your water system. And it also looks at the adequacy of your source, of your wells, the adequacy of your water rights, whether those are adequate for the future. So it looks at a level of service, and it looks at your future needs, and then it has a list of capital improvements to upgrade your system over the next 6 and 20-year period in order to maintain that level of service for your existing customers and your future customers. So it's pretty straightforward. There's not much controversy involved. It's kind of recounting information that's available. We also discuss, your stormwater utility, which is a little different. That's, collecting your stormwater running off the roads and getting it away so you don't have flooding where water is delivering water to you. The stormwater system's taking the water away. But same problem if there are flooding issues, if there are undersized pipes, if there's a pond that needs refreshing. We have a capital improvement list for upgrading of those facilities. Again, with an eye towards the future. This whole comp plan is, how are you doing now? How are you going to provide for the future? And so, but the sticking point, as everybody knows to some degree, is your sewer system or lack thereof. And so that utility, doesn't exist. You don't have a public sewer system. So there's, the level of service is people have individual, septic systems, and in order to really provide for the needs for 20 years in the future, the plan would be to, construct a public sewer system. Not cheap, not going to do it. Funding's available, but really that has to be identified as, hey, this is what the needs are. And Emily would tell you, hey, well, in order to meet your population goal and your housing goal, you've got to say how you're going to meet it. And I don't say this as being flippant at all. It's just reality. The way you're going to meet it with the sewer system is to build the entire town's sewer system and a wastewater treatment plant. And if that's $20 million, if that's $30 million, that's the cost. That's what it is. And the city's not going to come up with that themselves. If the state has funding programs or the feds have infrastructure funding programs, so be it. But Commerce, in my opinion, can't tell you, oh, well, you've got to, if they say, well, that's not a realistic goal, I say, well, that's the only alternative. We can look at alternatives of types of treatment and types of systems and doing pressure sewers and gravity sewers. We can look at a number of things, but they're still, quite expensive. So, that's something that has to be identified. And then your other utilities that you don't have too much control over, your power and your telecommunications and your internet providers and things. What we're trying to do there is just identify what services you have and really identify that these providers are the current service provider, and as far as we know, they will continue to be, and they will have to continue to upgrade their facilities to serve any growth that happens in the city. So, So that's kind of what's identified there, capital improvement list. We don't do capital improvement lists for power and telecom and, internet providers, just because we don't really know what they're gonna do and when they're gonna do it. Sometimes, or I don't know, Tammy, do you guys get any communication from?
No.
So, but every once in a while they'll, upgrade a substation or upgrade transformers or upgrade, I don't know, fiber optics are coming to town. They do it all at their expense. I mean, they recoup their money by having customers, and you pay your internet bill or cell phone bill or whatever that happens to be. So, similar in the transportation element, you guys, and we work with you guys every year to do what's called the 6-year TIP, which is the 6-year Transportation Improvement Plan. So that looks at, road upgrades. Same thing, we've got the transportation element, it's looking at your existing road infrastructure. It's looking at current traffic volumes, and it's looking at projected future traffic volumes. And again, it comes down to the capital improvement plan list, where this is kind of the wish list on all the road projects that you want to do. Again, it says, oh, well, you have to identify how you're going to pay for it. And you say, well, yeah, the way we're going to pay for it is applying for county funds, applying for state funds, and just because it's, the council probably knows better, but your general fund is just something that's not always flush with cash. You guys aren't sitting on a pile of cash typically in your general fund, and guess what? That's where your street upgrades money comes from. You don't have, people don't pay a utility bill for the streets, but you guys probably get some REIT money and probably get some, I don't know, do you guys get that 0.09?
We get like the multimodal transportation, yeah.
Right. Well, and that's another thing you have to identify for transit and multimodal. That's a new one. That's a new one this year. You just say, hey, there's no, the city has no policies against that. There's no refusing light rail coming here if it comes and wants to, I suppose. I don't think it's coming soon, but so there's the transportation, and what I'm getting at with both of these is it's fairly basic. We have a lot of boxes to check. You go through goals and policies. Some are carried forward. Some, in other places we work and in working with commerce, they kind of have these new goals and policies that you want to do. And so I would, if you do get the opportunity to look at it in detail, try to look at the goals and policies to just see, because that's kind of the forward-thinking part of it. The goals can be simple, that we want to, provide high-quality drinking water for the citizens and the customers, but some of it is how you're going to do it, and it's not just building things, but it's having policies, it's having good administrative staff, it's having good, finances and financials, and reading meters and staying on top of that. So a lot of that, those two chapters then feed into the capital facilities element. And the capital facilities element is really, all the projects you want to do as a city. It's the water projects, it's your transportation projects carried in, if you have any parks projects carried in, if you have a city hall remodel carried And any project you may wanna do, and that includes, you know, if there's the fire or police projects that you wanna do, if there's, a community center you wanna build, if there's anything that you guys have, hey, it would be nice if, well, just put it in there. And then if you have things identified in your capital facilities plan, and it gets adopted, and then a congressional representative or a county representative or somebody says, hey, what are your priorities? What projects do you want to do? We say, oh, well, it's right here in our plan. We want to do this. We want to do this. And I don't know all of what those are, but if you have ideas, or if there's been ones that have come up, or if there's ones, you know, missing there, there's no problem adding it. I've never heard Congress come back and say, oh, I'm sorry, we're not gonna approve this, you just got too many projects. Yeah, and they want a 6-year and a 20-year, and to me it's like, well, you got a list of projects, you just kind of put them in order, and you don't put them all in the 6-year, you feather some out, but all same thing. It's just because you put something 10 years out if you want, and that's the type of project that you know, is wanting to be funded by somebody. If the county, you know, that sometimes priorities change. You know, there are outside influences that, you know, sometimes it's infrastructure, it's water. Boy, there's a lot of money around for water. Let's grab it and get it and build the stuff. Fine. Oh, same thing for roads. Fine. But having these documents with, and Emily's not here to kick me in the knee, but you know, the goals and policies, the standpoint are to check the box and get it approved. And it's not like you're going to be against these goals and policies. You're open to them. None of them are, in my mind, very controversial. You're trying to provide this. You're doing this. But sometimes, you know, the funding applications you do will say, hey, is there a comp plan goal that's related to this project? And we point, oh yeah, we got this one. It says we're gonna, you know, it's like the roundabout project. It says, oh, well, it's gonna increase safety, vehicle safety and pedestrian safety. And we have a goal to increase, you know, road safety. We've adopted that, and that's in there, and oh, well, you get an extra 3 points on your application, and then you can maybe get, you know, further up the chain. So it's a good exercise. But it takes some you know, it takes some thought for the commission and also the council to it's not that you can't add things later and add things in, but if someone's aware of things, if someone's there, it doesn't take much for me to even put a cost to something or put it in there and list it and have a 2 cents description on what it is. So if there's things that come up, and I don't know how best to solicit some of that stuff, Tammy. If that's something that is, I don't think you have another document. I guess what I'm saying is I don't, yes, you've done it before and some of it's carried forward, but you know, if you have ones, if you get a common question from folks in town.
Is there a list of projects that are already on our current comprehensive plan? And we can start with that?
Yes, and there's one in this one, Elvin, as well. There's a draft list where we carried forward the last ones and we've added ones that are mostly water and transportation.
Okay.
So, but they're...
Was that mailed to us? I did not.
So I
didn't
think,
see that as our homework, so I didn't look at anything other than the chapters 2, 3, 4, so.
and that's correct, because this is new information we're getting
Yep.
tonight, and then we're gonna review what he's presenting, and you can let him know your suggestions
Okay,
after
so
tonight.
we're going to review at home, is that what you're saying?
Well,
Or
Yeah.
tonight?
or
Yeah.
shoot him the ideas or something.
Okay.
But for instance, Bo, I think, because I'm looking at this on my phone,
Okay,
the policies and goals, is that what you're calling? So it's on page, in the transportation unit, it's on
Right.
page 7-9 is where it starts. And I think that's the part that you want them to review and then tell you if it looks good, if there's anything we want added.
Yeah, and I think the water one, you're probably covered just because, you know, before Ron retired and, you know, we do this evaluation. So I wouldn't expect you, Mike, to say, well, I've evaluated the water system myself, and what you need to do is, you know, replace this water main out here, not do this other one. I don't think you're gonna do that. But, you know, transportation, looking at, you know, if you're like, well, and I don't know if you guys are aware that the transportation is done on an annual basis. It's usually every June. But that one is one that is a pretty, again, it's a pretty streamlined process just because, you know, you have to have it on your 6-year transportation improvement plan, and then that gets adopted, included in the county's overall transportation improvement plan. And the county, I think in the past, they've funded, you know, several road projects where they, through the, whatever they're called, TRPTO, is that what they're called? Or Thurston County Transportation something. So if you have road ones to add, great. Like I said, I wouldn't expect much on water, but if you do, we can look at it. And then on the, you know, overall capital facilities, if there's some other improvements, if there's.
so we have the roundabout on that list already? I'm just curious.
Correct, yes.
Right. What about, little shelters for bus stations?
I don't believe that's in there.
I don't think so. We talked to Mark Daly from TRPC about that. We can figure out if
Nice
we.
one. Right.
I noticed that at least every day, different times of the day, there's more people out there using the bus than than I've ever noticed.
Good.
It's between 1 and 3 people, but I just noticed that there's been an uptake on people
Yeah.
using the bus.
That's good. Word of mouth will get more and more.
Right.
But having a nice shelter, particularly in our rainy weather and stuff, would be nice.
Yeah. Well, and it brings awareness too. If you see a shelter, then you know that
Then
the
you know
facility.
there's someone there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For instance, on the capital facilities, when we wanted to build our pickleball court, because the comp plan was in 2016, pickleball wasn't really
Yeah, nobody
And
knew
so-
what that was.
right. And so when we decided to do the pickleball first, we had to add that into this plan so that.
Right?
So that's, I think, kind of the lines that Dom's talking about. We can add stuff, but if there's something that we know is gonna happen,
Yeah.
now's the time to add it.
Right, yeah.
Is there anything that we have in our current plan or whatever to deal with some of the drainage issues that we have?
Here and here, yes.
Both intersections, I mean, we get flooded out.
We get
Yes.
an engine job a year.
What's that?
We get an engine job a year because somebody's gone through the water and it's backfired and their engine's ruined because it's so flooded.
She's an owner of Turner Automotive.
Sorry.
Gotcha. Okay. That makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah, I think here as part of the, you know, full intersection, that was taken care of it, and is the other one on?
And that one right here is also,
Mhm.
Right,
Yeah.
and that one we've taken a look and assessed, and there's some, you know,
There's some
costs
issues.
associated, but that's
because I
included.
remember, because there is a, you know, drainage pit, I guess, and I offered to drill it deeper, and at that time Ron said, oh no, we can't do that because it will let the surface
aquifer.
water potentially get into the aquifer, and so that's where that ended. And we still have to swim to get to the door, just about. Just wondered if anything is,
Yeah, well, we can make sure those items are included in there, again, to give the opportunity to get
Be
funds.
nice.
Yep.
Are you talking Minnesota intersection
Uh-huh, yeah.
in Binghamton?
Mhm.
Okay.
It gets pretty deep there, has this year
does.
anyway.
This one does too.
Yeah.
I will say that when Theron became supervisor, he paid to have the back truck go down and like drill this one, thinking it was plugged from debris. And that was not the issue because it remains an issue. So,
I would say we vacuum that almost every other year and it still floods, so, yeah, I have no clue what's going on out
yeah, we
there.
think the system has failed, but it's one of those things we're talking with DOT about because technically it's at their intersection, so we were hoping that they would fix it and they want us to fix it, and so hopefully in our lifetime it'll get fixed.
Right.
So if we
this-
don't, we don't get it.
We just go swimming when it rains.
So where to come up with other ideas is what I'm hearing.
If you have any,
Yep, if you have ones that are,
Okay.
So referring to like water systems and things, how many wells do we have?
Did it work?
Yes, functioning wells,
6.
6. And how much water do our wells expected to pump daily?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
Theron would know, but I don't know.
As you see us right now, do you see that we have enough wells?
I think don't.
you have enough wells capacity wise. You have a water right issue that needs to be ironed out, but it's
What is our water issue?
It's a water right, it has to do with, so a water right is a state issued, certificate typically that says you can take, it has an instantaneous rate and an annual volume that you can take out of the ground. And so
Is
you,
that per population or?
it's typically, the need is population based, but usually these are water rights issued a long time ago. And so sometimes, say your water right says, oh, you can pump 200 gallons a minute. Well, you might have a well in there that can do 250 gallons a minute, and you throttle it down to meet the water right. Well, if you have needs that go beyond what the water rights, and well, we can pump it, it's a water right issue. It means it's not, you have the physical capability to do it, you just don't, you're not supposed to without approval. I mean, your car can go 100 miles an hour, but the speed limit's 60, so.
Yeah.
But it's a matter of petitioning the state saying, hey, we need this water, we need to amend the water rights. The problem is ecology is, Department of Ecology a lot of times has 2 speeds, which are very slow and stop. And so they, for new water rights, get in line. There's a list and they just keep adding to the list. But for amending water rights that are already there, you can get kind of some provisional approvals or indications that, okay, this is gonna be okay. So it's not, it's a problem, but it's not insurmountable from my perspective anyway, or Department of Health. They're typically saying, it's not like this town, some giant out-of-town developer doubled the population and needs the water rights.
So we've had a citizens survey that we got a copy of earlier on, where people were asked as to what they would like to see, and I'm wondering if any of what they said got included in our goals and desires. I mean, like I'm seeing public safety well, are we trying to get a part-time cop again? Or, that kind of stuff. They're saying better sidewalks.
Sidewalks is definitely in here, I just saw that
Is
one.
it? Okay. I mean, I didn't compare the two because I didn't even see a list. I'm just wondering if we
And that's
looked
something
at it.
that's something that we can go back through. I thought my staff got a lot of it, but we can
Okay.
go back and double check and make sure.
Yeah.
No, that's, makes sense. As long as people are answering the survey, you might as well carry
Yeah.
forward their
Something
information,
like that.
because
Yeah, exactly.
sometimes you have surveys where you don't get much feedback.
Whatever happened, and I don't know, I mean, I remember we talked about having a stage and, you know, place for community events and things as our long-range desire.
Revamping Wilkowski Park is definitely on the council's, horizon.
Now, Wilkowski Park is which one?
Where the Bluegrass Festival is.
Okay, great, good.
More just kind of cosmetic, make campsites and a stage and,
It's wonderful to see, I mean, I was so impressed, because I like to walk this trail and having the little potty bags and a bowl of water for the dogs, I mean, it's very thoughtful.
Yeah.
They're doing a great job.
yeah,
Yeah,
we're getting there.
yeah,
But any ideas like that, I think definitely we can
yeah.
include. It doesn't, like you said, it doesn't hurt to have too much.
Right.
Better to have too many ideas than not enough, so.
Right.
So lengthening the park, I would like to figure out, I would love to work out some ways to bring money in to lengthen the park. I mean, what you've done is amazing, but to build on it, to be bigger, and I'm not even sure if a water park is an option or not.
There's been people that have suggested it, but, you know, as far as I know, that's as far as it's went.
Be nice.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as we're gonna dream,
Yeah, exactly.
we may as well put
I
those
think
things in
because
there.
we're really a sleeping community, and so it would be nice to keep our parks and things.
It's really nice to see the kids out there, and they
Yes.
do use it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does, it brings
So
joy.
maybe adding more to it.
Sure.
And Mike, you're quiet, don't you have any thoughts or ideas?
I do.
Boy, now that is something we don't hear
Yeah.
very often. Mike is quiet.
Let's hear it. I know, that's unusual.
You know, mine more encompasses the entire comp plan, because we've done this for many, many years. We just keep revamping it, and I'll be honest with you, we don't see a whole lot getting done, other than the things that make, like, important stuff. And by the way, last night pickleball courts were pretty jammed,
Love it.
just to let you know. But what happens, so we're gonna go through all of this, and we're gonna pay the ladies, we're gonna pay you, to pay everybody to do all this, like we always do. And yet, let's say hypothetically, we don't wanna grow. So the state is telling us we have to have X amount of zoning to bring in more people. Our water's not capable of it. Our water rights can't serve what we have now, cannot serve what the state wants us to do in population. And that's where we're at right now when you're talking about water rights, because we don't have enough water rights to support the population that we're supposed to be planning for in the next 30 years or 20 years or whatever it is, without going through the whole water rights. So ecology's not talking to the building people in the state, and they don't talk to each other, so we're out here doing all this. Let's assume we have a council that doesn't want to grow, so we're not doing anything about sewer, because if I'm not mistaken right now, our septic systems are getting to the point to where they're going to interfere with our water. Is that a correct statement? Do we have an issue with water and septic or chlorophyll?
That's what the county's trying to push on us,
Exactly, thank
but
you.
our numbers are not reflecting that
Okay,
information.
but the county's trying to push it on us.
Mhm.
Okay, so in that aspect, let's assume that we wanted sewer, then it would be a perfect time to go after grants, because the county's telling us, even though we're not, county's saying we're bad, so we should be able to apply for grants the county supports us with, so we can get a sewer started. But if we don't want to do any of that, if we like where we're at, they can't do anything to us when this is all planned out, right?
Yeah, they'll cut off the money.
the money we don't get anyway.
We don't want it.
Yeah, exactly. Wasn't going to, thank you, Tammy. Yeah, you see what I'm saying? In other words, if we want to stay where we're at, and we don't want grant money, and we don't want this, there's really nothing they can do, right?
Well, I think some of that had to do with the road money and stuff that you get too.
Okay.
So we need that.
Okay, let's play along until we get the roundabout in Tammy.
So, yeah.
No, it's,
I'm just,
That's a,
I-
that's a state highway,
Yeah.
don't worry about that.
yeah, and I understand exactly what you're saying, because I say the same thing about, you know, it's, well, you cut off the funding, and I say, well, cut off what funding? And then there's programs that don't care about the comp plan. So, you know, you get it approved, and, you know, even if the county's saying, okay, you can't do this, because you could have it the other way too. You could have it the other way, that you get a council in there that says, no, dang it, we do want to
Yeah.
grow, and this is what I was elected to do, and we're gonna grow. So, to me, the comp plan is a tool that gives you some flexibility. You get it approved. It's gotta get updated in 2 years. They're gonna come out with more regulations and more things and more. And in the meantime, the kind of window dressing part of it is gonna change, but kind of the meat and the potatoes, I mean, fixing flooding problems and, you know, if there's a water quality issue with the aquifer, you know, you can have a big deal, and, you know, if it's a matter of, you know, I know that Thurston County groundwater model has everything kind of flowing south and west, and,
Yeah.
and it goes over to the Chehalis, and I've seen their model, and I've talked to the guy who does it, and that's fine. And then, you know, the wells still are deeper and protected in my mind, but again, there may be things. There's also regulations that come your way that are related to water. Department of Health adopts new water quality issues. You know, there's cities that are having to treat for, you know, PFAS, which is perfluoroalkylated substances, which is from firefighting foam that gets in the groundwater, and you've got to do these big treatment plants, these giant Brita filters, I call them, to treat it. Same with the stormwater. There's Department of Ecology comes out with more regulations, more regulations. You know, as you kind of grow as a city, you know, every time you grow a little bit, sometimes you trigger a new one, new regulations, new requirements. So, you know, in my way of thinking, you know, it's like some of the economic developments, there can be small ideas, there can be ideas, there can be good goals and policies, you can be open to it, but in terms of what, you know, kind of taking care of aging infrastructure and upgrading your roads and upgrading your water system and making sure you have nice parks and making sure you have pedestrian pathways and you know, that's kind of getting to the, you know, kind of community you want to be, while you're still, again, my perspective, just from what I've seen in working for cities over 30 years, it gets to where, you know, you have an approved comp plan. Well, everything in it, well, it's approved. It's approved. Is this project in an approved comp plan? If that's on the funding application, check the box, yes. What goals and policies does it? Now, that's the other thing on projects. You know, they don't ding you, well, you got too many goals and policies.
Yeah.
But I understand on the other side, it's like, well, why set these goals and policies if we have no intent in doing any of this? And so that's where you get to, well, we're carrying forward, we're adding a couple new ones, these ones that kind of sound good, and it sounds like a bunch of hand waving, and to some extent it is, in my opinion, but it's also, you know, meeting the state requirements. I mean, I think that, I completely understand how it can be frustrating from where you guys are sitting, and well, we've been through this before. we haven't gotten funding from the state for a project in our comp plan for however many years or ever. I mean, there's some programs that you guys have probably never gotten money for.
Well, and
Or
I
applied
guess
for it.
we're also looking at, we keep kicking the can down the road on some of the big issues as to, I think as a community, we need to figure out where we wanna go, because that's gonna drive a lot of this. And as an example, let's assume that we're eventually going to need sewer. Okay, it may be 10, maybe 20 years down the road. The problem is, we've been kicking it down the road since 1993, and now we're all the way to 2025, and now we keep kicking it, and the only thing it does is gets more and more expensive. And we don't have a vessel to take any money into that from the community right now, if that's was an issue. So now it's all grant related, and again, it's everything's predicated on our water situation, how many homes are gonna come in, do we meet this goal that they want us to meet, if we meet that goal, then how are we gonna do this on septics? And that's, I'm just throwing things out, it's rhetorical questions, I guess. It's just, I think at some point we need to figure out at what point do we stop kicking and go, okay, where do we wanna go? And that's a council thing, maybe us with council, to figure out exactly what they want, and then, work it from there.
That's an interesting concept. So you can start taking money in, or
I don't know. I mean, I'm guessing, as
Well-
an example, Tammy, let's say water's water, right? Water has to go to water, water can't go to sewer, is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so
Separate
see,
funds.
you would have to go to the community and say, okay, Rainier's eventually gonna need sewer. So to stop it from being a hurt in your pocketbook like Tenino was, when they charged their people out the yin-yang as they put it in, you start collecting $5 a water bill from every person in the community, and you put that into a sewer fund. And you collect that for X amount of years. So they complain about the $5, and I know some folks can't even afford the $5. So this is an example.
Yep.
You collect the fee, you put it in the sewer fund for the next 20 years, and maybe by then we've got $2-3 million that we can say, okay, we got enough money for a study now. But again, council, us, the public, we need to figure out where as a community we want to go, because we're sitting in here putting all this in right now for the comp plan, but what happens 5 years from now, where are we going to be?
right. And the thing that we're gonna know is that we are going to need sewer, no matter what.
Not necessarily.
Why? Because if our soils are becoming contaminated,
If we don't expand, right now, there's nothing wrong. We can stay where we're at right now. And I think a lot of us, to include myself, would love to stay where we're at right now. I don't want to be Yelm. I don't want to be Tenino. I want to be us. But I know that in back of my head, there's going to come a time where this is not going to be sustainable. And we're going to have to do something. And I just don't want that to be another 20 years when we figure that out, when we can have some kind of cohesive meetings between all of us and figure out from the council and us, where do you want to see us in 20 years? And that's, I mean, I understand the comp plan, but the city ourselves, we need to talk to each other and go, okay, where do you, Cheryl, see us in 20 years? Where do I see us in 20 years? Where does the council see us in 20 years? And once we can figure out where they see us in 20 years, then planning for that becomes a lot easier, because then you have goals. And right now, no offense, we really don't have any goals. We just have a comp plan that can to finish and keeping people out of town.
And of course, there was a time, we talked about doing a sewer line just through the main street.
Yeah, but
And
that's,
of course, nothing ever happened with that either.
it just,
That's not true.
it's all been talked about, and there's been issues. It's just, right now, we don't have, quite honestly, we don't have funding to do any of that.
so when
Correct.
Charmaine was here, wasn't there weren't we at, what did she call it? Shovel?
Shovel ready.
Yes. With the plan that they had put installed?
No, there's no plan in place. There's been studies done and,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
in regards to Bo's comment, the Dawn Peoples, is she with Thurston County Environmental Health? Anyways, There was some conversation about getting a sewer through the commercial part of town. And to do that, we have to have a study. And so the question 6 or 8 months ago to council was, does the council want them to go on a search for the grant money to do the study? And the consensus was yes. If we're gonna get a grant to do the study, let's do the study. See what happens. Is it practical? Is it affordable? Is it gonna be?
Okay.
And that's where we stand with that.
Okay, well, thank you for that update.
You're
I did
welcome.
not know that.
If we don't do a study, then we don't know where we're at.
Right.
Well, at least the main, although, I mean, that's just my personal thought, of sewer along the main
Yeah.
line.
Right.
would
It's
still
called
keep
I wish Jim was here because he's the one that was talking to Don Peoples.
Right.
CES studies, sewer, anyways,
Not
it is
not loss, not
Mm.
LOSS,
maybe that is, what's that stand for?
large on-site
Yes,
septic system.
I believe that's what it was.
So sewer-wise, your two major components are your collection and then your treatment. So you can collect the sewage from Main Street, but it's gotta go somewhere to be treated. So, a large on-site, septic is regulated by Department of Health, but it's really a big drain field is what it is. So what you would have behind your house with a septic tank and a drain field, this is just a larger one. There are, there's trailer communities along Hood Canal that have these. There's a bunch of them, and it makes sense to all go to one big septic tank and go to a big drain field. So that always has limited capacity. Maybe the study would show that has capacity for Main Street, and that takes care of Main Street. And maybe that offsets it, but still, eventually, that water, the same water, wherever it's going now, is going somewhere else, and is still going into the ground.
Right.
Where you build a treatment plant, it treats it, and you discharge, well, you can discharge to the ground, but it's a lot cleaner. The water's treated a lot better. And then you have limits on your treatment plant. You gotta test everything, and the Grand Mound treatment plant down by Great Wolf Lodge, they've got a sewer treatment plant, and it discharges, after it treats it, it discharges to the Chehalis River right by Maple Lane School there. That's where theirs goes. But a study, I will tell you that ecology is more apt to give grants for a study in general terms. And I will tell you, these are due roughly November 1st every year. It's called the Department of Ecology State Revolving Funds / Centennial Clean Water Fund. It's been around for 25, 30 years at least. That's the program that just about every sewer project goes through. They give loans, they give grants, they can give, usually on a big treatment plant, then they'll actually go through and figure out what your sewer bill is now, which is zero, I understand, and what it would need to be to pay off the loan. Now, getting the study going is a good first step to get an idea of what it is, because eventually you have to distribute the costs. And that's one thing on if you are planning for growth, and let's just say you're expecting, 1,500 more people, or however many units, you can figure out that, okay, when they come and build, they pay what's called the general facilities charge. They pay a portion of what it costs to build the treatment plant. And usually you have them build their own sewer system. The city's not going to just build a gravity sewer system or pump stations or force mains to sort of new development usually is like, well, you build your own system, and city has a treatment plant, and for every connection that gets to it, it costs this much. And you break it up into your existing customers and what your new customers will be. Because there are laws about that. You can't build a plant and make only the growth pay for it. And then you can't make just your citizens pay for it. And they say, well, we paid for this. How come these people get to come in and use it? We already paid for it. So that's, you know, a rate study component. And part of the evaluation, frankly, is, you know, what would the sewer rate be? I think there's also a matter of a formation of a sewer utility, I believe. So that's a process, and that's
Just say local improvement district.
There you go. There we go.
do that as well. Yes,
That's,
ULID, Utility Local Improvement District, and that, you know, that looks at the benefits and it divides it up, and it's a fair way to, you know, collect the money to do it. But, you know, in essence, if it's a if it's a $6 million treatment plant and you get half of it in grant from Department of Ecology, so now you got a $3 million loan. You can, you know, they do on hardship, you can get rates at, you know, sometimes as low as 1% or 0.5%, 30-year loans. And you can figure out what that loan payment is, you can figure out what your existing customers it's gonna be, you can, like you're saying, you can have already collected some money, some kind of money to get it in. A lot of times you can get that money and then there's maybe a year to design it, and a year to construct it, and a year to commission it, so you don't have to start paying back the loan for 3 or 4 years. And then you've got to come up with a lot of times it's an annual payment. You got to come up with your annual loan payment to pay that back. So, but it's a big, you know, it's a big step. It's you know, you're going to have people coming to council meetings, just like you said, I don't want to grow, I want to stay small, I want to just be who we are, I don't want anyone else in here, and I don't want to pay for this.
I think overall, that the last study we had says that people want to stay small.
Yeah, they did.
But,
I think the legislature said otherwise.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
yeah,
And because, Al, one of the reasons a lot of the big cities would try to do things, they're trying to, you know, take care of homelessness and make affordable housing and all the rest of this crap. And of course, they'd start down this road and the council chambers would fill up with angry people. You're not gonna do that in my neighborhood. And so they went down to the legislature, talked the legislature into making everybody do it. So, you know, the time you're spending, the money you're spending is repeated in, what, 36 counties and, you know, 150 cities around the state.
I can't believe the effect that the low-income housing in Yonge has had. It's changed the way, it's changed so much. It's changed so much for the schools. It's changed a huge amount. We are such a great community here. Such a great
They
community.
wanted to be a leasing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what he's discussing is, and telling you is one of the reasons why housing is as expensive as it is. Because you gotta have the sewer, you gotta bring in the electricity, you have to improve the roads. All of it costs money, and it's not free. And ecology makes more and more stringent regulations, and
Mhm.
it's one thing after another, and it's like, they're trying to repeal the law of gravity or something. Yeah.
All right. Is there more?
that's all I have. I usually just kind of go on and on, so I apologize.
I have a teeny little thing.
Go ahead.
Teeny thing. Tammy will be sending you a memo that I did, after I got through working on, this is not quite on comprehensive plan, as much as it is on all the statutes that have been passed that were mentioned in
memorandum you got from our contractor,
Emily.
that have, we need to catch up on. There are about 5 separate ordinances, the changes are in red. You can look at them or not look at them, as you choose. And maybe next time, if anybody's got any problems with them, I'll try to fix them. But I have to send them to ecology. Or
Commerce.
on commerce, excuse me, commerce.
Always
They
fancy.
all run together after a while.
Right.
Right.
So essentially, Bill did he fixed the ordinances to be up to date with the criteria that the comp plan is making us get up to date with. So I have the ordinances here. I'll email them to you. You can review them or not. Essentially, they're gonna go to council probably in June
June, July, whatever.
for council approval, but we're not recreating the wheel, we're just updating what we have to go,
I
essentially.
think I have to send them to commerce for some, I'm not sure. Maybe it's just the comprehensive plan that needs to go to commerce.
That I don't know, but I know Emily
But
will.
who cares? Yeah, I'll figure it out.
Okay, we good? Well, being as there's no other business, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I so moved.
Second.
Seconds?
I'm all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we are out of here.
Well,